So I was going through life, minding my own business, casually cohabiting with the 7 billion other people on this planet, and then things started to become a little bit uncomfortable.
No, you shut the up. You shut the up and you're
A bit too intimate, off-putting even. But what has happened today? It feels like our society is on some form of decline. More and more we're just lacking class and we're slowly degrading as a society. And we see it a lot thanks to the normalization of vulgarity, where people really dress inappropriately more and more these days without ever considering that, clothes actually carry some form of communication to people. The thing is, the behaviors in Western countries have really become louder, more obnoxious, and just simply inconsiderate to other people. Like, long gone are the days of courtesy, social awareness, and just consideration of what people do and don't in public. So at its core, having class is really about behaving in a civilized manner, showing respect for oneself, but also for others. And I think generally speaking, it's just about being a good human being. But it has been heavily misinterpreted by most people. For centuries, the definition of class was always linked to high society and aristocracy. Their wealth, their power, and their access to education gave them resources and the platform to influence and define what it meant to be classy. Now, this actually led to the perception that they were somehow superior to the other classes, and therefore the concept of class got linked to superiority, to rich people, and to status. But does having class actually mean all this?
No.
Because times have changed. And so has the definition of class. For a long, long time, there has been a movement going on that has really challenged the traditional definitions of class. And this movement has really argued that class is more than just wealth and status. It's actually more to do with values, with attitudes, and with kindness. And this movement also argued that high society does not have monopoly on class. Of course, there are still class systems still in play all over the world. But I would say that in Western countries, we are becoming more a blended society, which is really positive and it's really encouraging. And that goes really hand in hand with the modern definition of class, that it's accessible to everyone, that people from all social classes can actually have class, regardless of their wealth, regardless of their status. And that also takes us to my YouTube channel, because that's exactly what I have been teaching and preaching here over the years. It's so important to remind you ladies on this channel that elegance is tied to so much more than money. So if you enjoy that kind of content, make sure you subscribe. Also, if you enjoy more uncensored conversations where I really spill the tea, then hop on over to my Patreon, because there you're gonna learn loads. So going back to the fact that having class has really undergone a makeover. The problem is, though, that most people haven't gotten the memo.
Did you see the memo about this?
And that is really causing a lot of bad publicity. Most people haven't caught up to this evolution. Most people still think that having class is directly connected to wealth, to snobbery, to superiority. And thanks to this outdated stereotype, it really does promote a concept that clashes with the modern values of today. These days our society really does value equality and individuality and freedom of self-expression. That might clash with the kind of old, outdated concept of class, and that makes people to become quite skeptical or even opposed to this. I have really noticed this resistance, especially among kind of younger generations, in particularly Gen Z, as I have noticed that they view it as some form of threat to their individuality. Thanks to social media, thanks to TikTok, Gen Z are influencing quite a lot of trends now in our society. You gotta talk to your Gen Z there at home, I actually really realized this when I started my own YouTube channel. When I started teaching elegance and having class, I was so excited to be able to share this amazing, tool for personal development that I had discovered, a tool that really had helped me so much on my own journey, and I saw how it was changing other people's lives for the better. And then when I started publishing my content, and especially when my videos started to reach like really wide audiences, people started saying that my content was problematic. Yeah, I'm serious. I was quite surprised when I'm like, excuse me? Elegance is labeled now as controversial? What? I just don't understand how having class, being a decent human being is now controversial. Even if we are a minority these days, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't go after our dreams and level up. And ladies, I'm here for you. I'm here to help you improve your life by offering you coaching so that you can achieve your goals. And I have put together a free training so that you can get started with your goals today. And you can access it by going to fabulousfutureformula.com or click the link in the description box below. I know it might sound a little bit old-fashioned to some of you, and some of you might even argue that,
Anna, times are changing and we have to evolve.
but why does nice behavior have to become extinct? What is happening to our society where we are literally normalizing the opposite? I am aware that the reason why people generally oppose having class is a fairly complex issue, but it also has to do a little bit with people being generally defensive because they don't want to feel inferior as having class may come across superior due to the stereotypical association of it. But it makes me wonder though, is having class on the decline because of bad marketing, or is there more to it? Back in the days, there was this class system and it was like the strict hierarchy. Unlike today, we have a more blended, we have a more fluid social structure. Really, really good evolution. I'm not complaining. But the thing is, when you have this rigid class system, it actually motivates people to climb the social ladder. And this is the reason to why a lot of people back in the days would kind of copy the behaviors of high society and their customs because they wanted to use it for when they climbed the social ladder. Also, back then, material abundance wasn't as prevalent as it is today. Plus, poverty was widespread and access to goods were really limited, making it pretty much impossible to emulate high society through material possessions. Unlike today, where anyone can purchase luxury goods and project an image of wealth on social media. So for this reason, people actually focused on what they could control, which were behavior and manners. And it doesn't cost you anything to be gracious and to be classy. I would also add that back in the day, people would really take immense pride of their possessions. Like a single pair of leather shoes would be really meticulously polished and kept in pristine condition. Contrast that with today's throwaway culture where,
oh, who cares about polishing a shoe? What a waste of time. I could just go and buy myself a new pair on Amazon.
Now, something happened after World War II that became really significant. People started having more disposable income. And you know that that's when consumerism started to sneak into our lives? And you might think like, oh my goodness, that's so good, amazing. Everyone having more stuff must be happier now, right? Well, like with everything in life, there's always a flip side to the coin. What happened was, that was the beginning of the end. No, I'm kidding. That was the beginning to where we kind of are today. This abundance sparked, unfortunately, the relentless rat race that we are stuck in today. Our society started to become more and more fast-paced. And I would say the more we advanced, the faster paced we got. Look at life today. It kind of looks more like a high-speed chase. It's almost like you gotta run like a crazy person inside a hamster wheel if you want to achieve your material goals. And that's the thing, that society's focus shifted from having class to having stuff. Now every purchase gave you a nice little dopamine rush, leaving you craving more. And before you knew it, you were stuck in this rat race, whether you liked it or not. Stressed out from work, some retail therapy to the rescue, but then you need money to fund your little therapy fix. So you gotta work even more, which leads to more stress. Then you need to work more. Then you need to buy more things to calm yourself and be happy again. And so the cycle goes on, and you're stuck in it forever. Have a good life. Enjoy. High society has actually become so much more accessible than before, meaning that it's much easier to join them. And because the focus of society has really shifted to materialism, you can get by pretty well just by owning a lot of material possessions. There's less expectation now to embody a certain level of class as an individual because that's just not on trend anymore. I am generalizing, however, but you can. In many high society communities, it's more about superficial metrics and what you have than anything else. The tech industry and social media culture, it is all built to just fuel our materialistic desires, and that is just making everything worse. We are now really trapped in this vicious cycle where our focus is so entirely on material possessions that it just blinds us to the things that truly matter in life, and is just disconnecting us from our intrinsic values. And intrinsic values are directly connected to the lack of class in our society, because they are really about the foundational needs of a human, like the value of relationships, the value of community, about having real experiences and personal growth. Intrinsic values are really based on having respect, about having empathy, and all this is essential if you want to behave in a classy and mannerly way. But when people lack intrinsic values, they might instead behave in a rude and inconsiderate or selfish way. You know, ironically, in this age of everyone being hyper connected to each other through technology and social media, all this technology has made us more isolated than ever, which is directly impacting the loss of intrinsic values. Well, sometimes I think about the modern human being. I feel like we've become like these robots or these dopamine chasing monkeys who are just seeking comfort in our digital devices while we're neglecting real world interactions. This has really led to a decline in physical communities, which are crucial for our well-being because, you know, we are social creatures. We are wired to thrive in groups. Community is actually the third pillar in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right after food, shelter, and safety. And even though we are, you know, constantly virtually connected to each other, chatting to people via our devices, I mean, sorry to say, but online communities can't fully replace the human connection that we crave because they lack the face-to-face interaction, they lack the physical touch, the eye contact, and just the shared experiences. All these elements are essential for building strong relationships. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because this has far-reaching consequences. It is directly connected to why we lack class. We are less engaged in the real world. We care less about our communities. We are really failing now to cultivate proper physical communities, and instead we're just focusing on individualism. I don't think the pandemic made things easier. I think it made everything worse, to be fair. Isolation was heavily promoted and almost like, oh, we can make it work. Like, look, working from home is better than going to work and actually meeting people. Let's never see each other. Our society has definitely become more individualistic in recent decades. This means that the spotlight is now more on the individual rather than on the collective. But the problem is you also have to look at the flip side of it. As much as I support individualism, we just need to be mindful of the potential drawbacks. And it is affecting our fundamental human needs because we are just stepping away from this whole tribe and community mindset because now people's like, I don't need to pay attention to my manners. I don't care about that person. They can care for themselves. I'm gonna mind my own business and I don't care. The problem with a more individualistic society is that it naturally makes people less empathetic and less concerned about the well-being of others because people are just so focused on their own success. They might even be less inclined to engage with their communities. I mean, I know certainly when I have been working really, really hard, I don't have time to meet anybody. I don't have time to meet even my friends, barely my family. So of course, it becomes more isolated. And now that we are so focused on just, you know, working, success, materialism, becoming the next Mark Zuckerberg, getting on the cover of Forbes. Okay, let's cut the crap. Most people don't care for class because they just don't see what's in it for them.
What's in it for me?
And they're not motivated to achieve it because they either don't think that it relates to them or that they will benefit from it. But that's what they get wrong, because having class is directly benefiting a person because you actually get empowerment when you behave as the best version of yourself. You're really going to notice this in your surroundings because people actually automatically treat classy people better. They treat them with more respect because I guess they trust them more or they find them more professional. And when people treat you better, you feel more empowered because you feel more connected to your surroundings. You feel more comfortable and at ease because you know also that you are taking your share of responsibility as a decent human being. Positivity spreads positivity. Negativity breeds negativity. And I want to stress on something really important, which I think many get wrong when we speak about having class. When we are saying, okay, let's do more of this, a lot of people automatically think that we're talking about, okay, now we're all going to turn into doormats. It's just about people's pleasing. We're just now so obsessed or overly concerned about other people, what they think, even though there is this kind of cool attitude in our society where people are like,
I don't give a damn about other people.
yeah, that kind of would make sense if you literally were the only person on this planet, but you're not. So that argument really doesn't make sense because whether we like it or not, we are sharing space. We don't have a choice but to try and find a common ground with each other. You know, where we can rub shoulders on this earth without actually having to be uncomfortable or have a constant unpleasant experience with each other, which is why having class is so important. I really think every person has a responsibility to contribute something to our society and something positive and something valuable. And just by having good behavior, kindness, respect, consideration for other people, just that is enough. And that is what class is about. Everyone has to do something. We can't live in a world or make a world function by just thinking about ourselves. But okay, I know some people are still not going to be convinced. They will not be motivated by, the greater good or do it for your community. It will not be enough motivation for them. But what if I told you that you are going to actually feel better when you have class, when you can actually take pride in yourself and your behavior? You are going to feel empowered because you put effort in yourself instead of just turning to some bad habits, sloppy behavior or rudeness. Because when you respect yourself, you're actually going to feel better about yourself, and that's going to make you feel so much more confident. It is going to boost you with so much self-esteem and feeling of empowerment. So if you don't want to do it for others, do it at least for yourself. Now, do I think we can actually stop the decline that is happening in our society in terms of lack of class? I think maybe. If we spread the word of what it actually means and crush what it doesn't mean, then maybe that will stop people from being so opposed or defensive around it. Maybe that will also trigger some curiosity of the potential benefits. And maybe then more people will start taking action towards it. But it has to be done in a balanced way. So I think it's really important that whenever you spread the message about this, make sure you do it in the most fair, balanced, and non-stereotypical way. Maybe then we will actually see change. In my next video, why do we dress so sloppy today? We're gonna talk about the dress code. Why is it so relaxed these days? Why are the clothing choices slowly degrading in our society? Now let's talk about that in the video that's coming up now.